The West has been wild through the past decade, with the Warriors dynasty, to the LeBron Lakers, to the stacked Suns roster, and now the rise of Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. So, let's rank all these teams. At number 15, I have the Portland Trailblazers. Portland just started their rebuild by trading Dame and getting a whole lot for it. While the frontcourt duo of Rob Williams and DeAndre Ayton is solid, Malcolm Brogdon will probably be flipped for a pick or a young player. The frontcourt is a good start, but Portland needs to get a top pick, which they most likely will. And that leads me to the team that had the number 1 pick in last year's draft, the San Antonio Spurs at number 14. San Antonio hit the jackpot in the draft, picking Victor Wembanyama with the first overall pick. Even with this knowledge, the Spurs still aren't good enough to go anywhere, with Wemby not developed yet. A top 5 pick may service Wemby and Greg Popovich well. At number 13, I have the Utah Jazz. Utah feels better than the 13th seed, but I just don't think they're any better than any team ahead of them. Lauri Markkanen being the best player on a playoff team just doesn't seem possible in the West. Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton are an okay backcourt. John Collins was a nice pickup, and Walker Kessler was the steal of the 2022 draft. However, the Jazz don't have that X factor that can push you over the edge to the playoffs. At number 12, I have the Houston Rockets. Houston started the offseason with money to spend. They spent it on Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks. I think this was the wrong move. Both VanVleet and Brooks are not old, but aging. The rest of the Rockets are young and developing. It's pretty obvious the front office made these moves to fill seats at the arena. Houston will not do anything special this season, and Fred VanVleet probably won't average more than 20 points a game. And even that would be generous. At number 11, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota, like Utah, feels like they should be better than where they are. Anthony Edwards is crazy athletic and a good star player. However, I feel like Karl Anthony Towns is not good enough to push them over the edge. And obviously Rudy Gobert is not the same player he was when he won DPOY. And that leads me to the first play-in team, the Pelicans, at number 10. The Big Easy has been in some struggles recently. The core of Zion, Brandon Ingram, and CJ McCollum is great on paper, but there's one problem. Zion can't stay healthy. I can't give New Orleans the edge over anyone else ahead because there's just too many question marks. It wouldn't surprise me if Zion gets hurt again, so that's why I have the Pelicans at 10th. At number 9, I have the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas is in an odd spot. They have an MVP candidate in Luka Doncic, one of the greatest ball handlers of all time in Kyrie Irving, but they aren't even a playoff contender in my eyes. This is because the next best players are Tim Hardaway Jr. and Grant Williams. Hardaway is someone who might be on an actual contender's bench, and Grant Williams hardly ever played for the actual championship contender Boston Celtics. That just isn't Dallas's thing, I guess. What happens if one of the two stars gets hurt? What if Kyrie can't perform as well as he once could? We all know Luka is great, but the rest of the team is questionable. And that's why I have Dallas at 9th. At number 8, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't completely understand the Thunder hype train that's going on. Yes, Shea is great. Yes, Josh Giddey is a very promising number 2 who has already performed. Yes, Chet Holmgren can be a great big man, but I don't see much else. The whole pitch of OKC rising up the standings kind of depends on how well the supporting crew leaps into contender form. So OKC could be higher, absolutely, but I haven't seen enough to give them higher than 8th. And at number 7, I have the Clippers. Look, if the Clippers get James Harden, this may be a different story, but I don't have faith in the Kawhi-Paul George duo anymore. Assuming both of them are healthy still doesn't make them much better. Why should I believe that this time Kawhi and Paul are going to lock in and make a playoff push? I don't. 7th seed for the LA B team. At number 6, I have the Memphis Grizzlies. With John Morant being suspended 25 games and the overall mediocreness of the rest of the team, I don't see the Grizz winning a lot of games. However, I always thought he was a great off-the-court player for a team, but not the best on it. Smart can't shoot to save his life, and his defense dropped off last season. However, Jaren Jackson is the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, and Desmond Bane is an elite shooter, no denying that. With that, there isn't much else to talk about, which is a problem in the loaded West. At number 5, I have the Golden State Warriors. Sorry Warriors fans, I'm not going to suck Chris Paul off and act like he's going to unlock the bench. He's 38, wake up. Why do you think the Warriors wanted Jrue Holiday? That's not a great sign when your team is willing to give up on you before camp even started. I never understood the two true point guard experiment. What's the rotation going to be like? Curry at shooting guard? Paul at shooting guard? Paul off the bench? Klay Thompson at the power forward? With all that said, Curry is Curry, Klay is still Klay, and Draymond is, unfortunately, still Draymond. Good enough for a 5 seed, not much more, not much less. At number 4, I have the Sacramento Kings. Unlike the OKC hype, I completely understand the hype around Sacktown. De'Aaron Fox is a top point guard in the West. Sabonis is a top big man in the West. Keegan Murray, Kevin Huerter, and Harrison Barnes round out a solid starting 5. While I like the roster, the depth isn't crazy, and there isn't anything on the depth chart that stands out to me. Still, a solid playoff team and my 4th seed. At number 3, I have the LA Lakers. While the Los Angeles A-team has gone through some rough patches recently, they finally broke through to the conference finals, and unlike most teams on this list, they actually got better. They only lost Dennis Schroeder and Malik Beasley and got Gabe Vincent, Jackson Hayes, Taurean Prince, and Christian Wood. These players might not wow you, but having this kind of depth is what separates champions and those left behind. While I have the Lakers at 3rd, I could absolutely see them going to the finals this year. At number 2, I have the Phoenix Suns. While I may not be in love with the way Phoenix handled this offseason, I still like the major move they did make. Dealing Chris Paul for Bradley Beal makes the Suns an offensive powerhouse, and dealing DeAndre Ayton for Yusuf Nurkic and 2 bench players was questionable, but not a bad deal by any means. I don't like the fact that they're going all into offense with no stability on defense. The Celtics did it last season, and look how it turned out. If the offense isn't going, which it will sometimes, the Suns have no hope. While they address some of the depth problems with Eric Gordon and Yuta Watanabe, they are still my number 2 in the West. And that leads me to my number 1, the Denver Nuggets. The defending champs have something to prove this season. With a shaky offseason at best and a possibly championship-ruining one at worst, Denver looks a little thin, but they still have Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr. The starting 5 isn't the best in the NBA, but it's pretty close. The depth worries me with the loss of Bruce Brown, but I think they'll be fine. Alright, it's playoff time. Clippers and the Thunder are getting out of the play-in. And the first round series between Denver and OKC should be a piece of cake for Denver. Nuggets in 4. Next is the Kings and Warriors. While I like what the Kings have done, I can't really have them beating Curry, so I think the Warriors in 7. Next up is the Lakers and Grizzlies, a rematch of last year. And I have the same result with the Lakers in 6. The last first round series between the Suns will be an interesting rematch. Not interesting enough for the LA B team to pull off the upset. Suns in 6. The Nuggets and Warriors match up in the second round. Curry is great and all, and you can make the case that Denver doesn't have the depth, but one team has Jokic and the other doesn't. Nuggets in 6. The final second round series between the Suns and Lakers will be one hell of a clash. Here's the thing. Phoenix's offensive attack is going to be incredible, but when one of Phoenix's stars has to be subbed out or the offense just isn't going, the Lakers will take advantage. Having a one-dimensional team like Phoenix opens them up to the threat of inconsistency. Plus, getting a new coach can be a blessing or a curse for an already established team like Phoenix. Give me the Lakers in 7. Now the Western Conference Finals between Denver and LA. Another rematch of last year. This time, I think the tables will turn. Jokic is obviously the best player in the NBA and has proven he can win. But the insane depth and star power of the Lakers will prove to be too much for Denver's thin bench. Give me LA in 6. Now our finals are set. The Lakers versus, well, you're going to have to watch my Eastern Conference video to find out who came on top out East. Alright, well that's it for my Western Conference predictions. I hope in a couple days I can get out the NBA Finals in-depth review. But until then, like, subscribe, turn on channel notifications. That'd be a huge help for me. And yeah, this was Underground Sports. I'm Luke, and have a magnificent rest of your day.